Now, let me ask you a very simple question. Do you know all the four main data types that Microsoft Excel can work with? Well, in this lesson, I'm going to be discussing with you all the four main data types, and later on in the class, we shall expound more with examples on the fourth data type. Now, would you like to know what the fourth data type is? If the answer is yes, and you are excited like I am, let's head over into the class. The goal of this particular class is we want to go through and understand the four main different kinds of values that we can work with inside Microsoft Excel. In simple terms, data types in Excel are used to classify which values can sit in a particular column or table in a more structured manner. I just wanted to open this particular discussion today with looking at one of the data types that we can work with. Of course, the numbers. Can someone tell us, what do you know about whole numbers? If you're working within a single Excel cell, how many digits are always allowed? Can someone tell us? With our normal spreadsheets, of course, the number is a little bit low. We are only allowed 15 digits because we know Excel cannot handle numbers that are above 15 digits in one single cell. So if you have some number that is actually exceeding those those digits, then the rest of the numbers will always be chopped off, or they will be saved, or they will show as zeros. I'm going to be demonstrating this practically inside Excel. And again, sometimes when the number gets a little bit too large, it will now, maybe Excel transcribes or converts it into what we call a scientific notation. Because the number is so hard to be shown in one single cell, then it is converted. I will show you practically how that plays out inside Excel. So that's whole numbers there for you. How about decimals? Yes, this is also one of the common number type, although it's designed specifically to handle numbers with fractional values. It can also deal with whole numbers. I believe everyone knows about that. Then we also have percentages. Fundamentally, percentages are the same as decimal numbers or the decimal data type or the decimal number type, but it has that part, that mask behind it, the format that you bring in that shows as a percentage. You get the idea? I'll show you practically when we head over to Microsoft Excel. Then we also have dates. Someone talked about dates. This just represents a date with no time portion. For the time, you eliminate the date portion. But again, these are things that you can interchange using simple formats within our Excel sheets. The last one would be integers. And let's move to the next one. We also have text. Can someone give us some of the types of text data types that you know? What have you been working with in regard to text? We are breaking the four many different kinds of values that we can work with in Excel. And I did tell you that we have numbers, we have text, we have logical, and we also have errors. Those are the four main different kinds of data types that we can work with. But again, below those particular data types, there are several other I don't know how to term this one, are they subcategories or something of sort that we can work with. Now, in regards to text, can someone give us examples, please? Use the chat box as well as your microphone. Lucy Dunia, I can see your hand is up. Can you come on the mic?
Okay, let me try this one. What is sentences, date, and like time? It can be also like address. These are what I can remember or recall.
Oh, you are giving everything. So Lucy Dunia has given us everything. So let us go through them. We can do words. Of course, I don't know which words you will be punching into your Excel. I don't know, but you can give us examples of the words. We can also work with sentences. We can also work with dates. Someone mentioned about the dates. Dates can be also saved as, for as long as they are formatted as text, then we can read them as text. Time as well. Addresses. Can also deal with people and so many other things. This particular text is open to dealing with anything that you can format as a text. I believe this is very clear. Let's move over to the logical data type. So with logical data types, we are only talking about the Boolean expressions. When we start looking at logical functions, we shall still dwell so much on these truths and falses. Are we together? And there are several functions that can lead to you getting a Boolean data type. We all know that when you look at your formulas tab, there's a grouping for logical functions. So any logical function or expression, let's not only limit ourselves to logical functions, because there could be expressions that might evaluate to a value of true or false. So whenever you see true or false, we have specific formulas or specific functions that can result into true or false. But let me give you a number of functions that I think can return trues or falses. Number one is the AND function. The old function, have we used these particular functions before? The is number, the not function, and so many others. You can actually move to your Excel right now and confirm from the formulas tab under the logical family of functions, what are some of the functions that can give you logical data types? And the last one is the error data type. What are some of the errors that you think you will ever work with? And remember, in my classes, I always say, whenever you're working with Excel and you experience some errors, just relax. Errors are recognized data types. Excel knows about these errors. So there's nothing wrong with you writing a formula and it results into an error. That is meant to be. It's meant to do that because errors are official data types that we can work with. But again, it's very important to know about all these errors so that we can deal with them precisely when they appear. So let us look at some of the errors. I believe, Kamara, here you can give us a number of answers here. There are several errors that we can work with here. Can you give us at least two?
DIV is one.
Uh-huh.
That's the only one I can think of right now, sir.
Are you sure? Are you sure? Maureen Kemgisa is saying hash value. Yes, we have the hash name question mark error. Whenever you see it, what is always the cause? Thank you for knowing about this error, but do you know what causes this error and how do you fix it? Thank you for knowing that we have the hash div error, but do you know what causes the hash div /0 exclamation mark error? Those are the things that we need you to answer in this particular session. Have the hash ref exclamation mark error, also have the hash NA. Someone talked about the hash NA here. We also have the hash value exclamation mark, also have the hash pin error, and so many other errors as we shall be seeing when we move into the practice. Okay, this marks the end of the presentation that I had for you today. Now let's head over to Excel and see what we can demonstrate here. Let me just open a blank Excel file here. And remember, we talked about the number or the digits that each individual cell can hold. So I did actually tell you that we can have 15 digits. So if I punched in here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So the limit is 15 characters. Right together. When I hit enter key, you can see it gives me this particular value. It cannot fit in one single cell. Even if I expanded this particular column, because it's not an issue of the column, it is an issue of the number itself. That's why it will convert into a scientific notation. And you can see the number is maintained here in the formula bar. All together. But now let us punch in something that is 15 characters and more. So I'll come back here and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So I have 18 characters here. When I hit enter key, what happens? I'll do so. You can see I get almost the same number, but when I check in my formula bar here, all these extra numbers that I did punch, I don't actually remember the number. So meaning that if you had the number, you the 3 digits here, you will lose those numbers and it will give you zeros for only these 3 extra numbers. The rest, all the 15 characters will be maintained, but you will lose these particular numbers here and you'll get this particular format returned to you. We shall understand those formats in their own individual class. I can punch here 0.17. Is this a decimal number?
Of course, it's a decimal number.
But if I actually came over here to the number format and changed it to percentage, you see what I get here? I get 17%. So that's what I actually mentioned at the beginning, that percentages are almost decimal numbers, but because that simple format that you apply will always trigger and change them into percentages or to show as percentages. But beneath, you will still be maintaining those decimals or fractions. Okay, let us expound more on the errors so that we can look at some of the causes of these errors and how sometimes we can fix these errors. What do you think causes this particular error? Of course, I've given you two reasons here. One is misspelling the function name. So let me demonstrate this one, how it can come about. I'll actually remove these numbers. I'll say clear all. Now, assuming that I would like to sum up these numbers, and maybe my interest is to use the sum function, I can say equals sum. Now, I'm going to be misspelling this function name intentionally. Instead of, single M, I will say double M, open brackets, and then highlight my numbers here, close and enter. Immediately I do that, I will get this error returned back because I have misspelled the function name. In other cases, when you're moving a little bit faster, for example, I want VLOOKUP just as an example, I may just misspell the function name. You get the idea? And it will immediately give me the hash name question mark. It doesn't understand what are you trying to do. I have just misspelled the VLOOKUP function. Now together, maybe instead of just 2 or double O, I've just put triple O. So when I close and continue, doing whatever I want to do, without noticing that I've misspelled the name of the function, immediately expect the hash name question mark error. Are we together? The other instance that can lead to this particular error is misspelling or picking the incorrect named range. So what I'm going to be doing here, I will actually create a range of just numbers, and I'll just randomize some numbers here, I'll say rand between 10 and 25. So I'll just get like 5 of them here. Now, assuming that I would like to create a named range for these numbers, what I do is I highlight this entire range and give it a name. Remember at the beginning, when we introduced ourselves to Excel, I did show you the name box here. What is it used for? To create named structured references so that you can use them in your formula to look a little bit smart. So similarly, we can create a range and give it one single name, or we can actually name one single cell. Assuming that I would like to change this particular cell address, let me just give it a background color. So this particular cell address is D3 from the name address here. It's called D3, but I might want to change this one to something else. So I can click here, come back to D3, remove the D3 and give it my own name. I'll say Godfrey, just as an example. I'm changing that cell address to Godfrey. Hit enter. So if I have some value here, let's say I have 6 in this particular cell address, and I want to multiply whatever is here by 6, just as an example, I can come here and say equals Godfrey. Whatever is in Godfrey, I want to multiply it by 6 and enter. I'll get 36 as a result here. If I change something here to 7, just as an example, I'll still get this number calculating properly. And you can see I've just used this particular cell address, which I have customized. Similarly, we can customize an entire range. So let me highlight this entire range, come back to the name box and give this one, maybe I'll just call it Moses and hit enter. Now this entire range is called Moses. Not only one single cell in it, these individual cells are still independent. It's only the entire range that is called Moses. So if I want to refer to Moses, I'll say equals Moses. You see the range is highlighted automatically for me. If I misspell that particular named range, I say equals Moses and enter. Of course, I get a hash name question mark error. So those are the scenarios. But again, they are very easy to fix, and the only way to fix them is going back and correcting your function name or picking the correct named range. That's the only way you can fix them. Let's move over to the hash div. What are some of the causes of the hash div? One is when you're actually dividing a number with nothing. So let us remove whatever is here and check this one out. Now, we have a smaller data set to use here. We have the date column, the calls that were received, the calls that were dropped, and we are calculating the percentages here. So how do we calculate the percentages first? I can see why so your hand is up.
And I think you can do equals C3 divided by B3 times 100.
Are you sure? Anyway, let us try it. You see what we got here? It's quite a huge number. So Bamidele, you're saying 36 over 217. As simple as that. So you don't add this multiplication here. You just end it from there and you get your percentage. So we have 17% for this particular first record. Now, when we actually, let me just get rid of some numbers here. So when we actually drag this formula, remember our fill handle, I'll just grab it here and drag all the way through to all these other cells. And there you go. You can see we have the hash div /0 exclamation mark error. Why? It's because there's nothing here. So these numbers have not yet come in. So how do we deal with this error? Of course, we know there is no problem here. This error, it's not that we have done a wrong calculation. It's only that the numbers have not yet come through. So maybe what we can do is to hide this particular error, just to make sure that our worksheet looks a little bit smart. So we can use if error function to hide this one. So I'll come back here and say, I open the if error. If error. So the first argument here inside the if error says that the formula will be able to run if there is no error. So tell me which formula should be able to run. This one here. So this one serves as the value argument. We are just allowing this formula to calculate if there is no error. Otherwise, I'll say, comma, value if error. You can customize what you want to see here. So I can say maybe data has not yet come through, or I can say anything. You can customize what you want to see here. Or I can say 0, or I can say blank. How do we say blank? Open quotes, close quotes. But in this case, let us say 0 and then close our if error function from here and enter. So when we drag with our fill handle, what should we expect? Wherever there is a hash div, we should be getting 0% because the numbers have not yet come. That's why we are getting 0. Let us look at the hash ref error. How does this particular error end up showing? Assuming that we have a data set like this, we are just keeping sales information for our sales reps here for each individual period, and we are trying to calculate the totals here. And we shall also later on calculate their commissions based on this particular rate here, which is 20%. But we shall demonstrate a number of scenarios that can cause the hash ref error. And number one is deleting a referenced row. The other one is cutting and pasting things. If you cut things and paste them, sometimes you will lose your formula and you'll end up with such an error. Deleting a referenced tab. I have another tab here that has the red. I'll just demonstrate and delete this tab so that we can see that error popping up. Let us start with calculating these totals here. So if I want to total up these numbers here, there are several methods. If you use this wrong method that I'm going to be showing you, this is wrong. So this is Jan plus Feb plus March. Who has never done this? April plus June. Enter. This one, of course, will give us the numbers. And let us also do equals. I open the sum and then I highlight this range instead. But now, if something changed here, for example, maybe Feb was entirely removed, one of these formulas will show ref error. Let us do that. I'll say delete. You can see for the first one, which we actually worked out manually, you can see we have a hash ref error. Why? It's because inside here, this reference has been completely deleted. So inside your formula, whenever there is a hash or a ref error, the end result will always be a hash ref error. Now, for this particular sum, because it can take care of those changes, it's dynamic. That's why we maintain this value, even though this particular entire column was deleted. I'll just Control Z to bring it back. So Feb data is now back and our numbers are showing properly. So expect these errors if you're doing or if you're writing your formulas like how it is written in the first record. The other reason is cutting and pasting. Let's assume that maybe these numbers have changed for June. Maybe I can come here and say June new numbers. You have your new numbers, and I come here and say Control X for cutting, and then I come here and Control V. You'll end up with a hash ref for our totals, and similarly here, you'll also get hash ref error. Now, what is the best method of bringing in numbers and updating your raw data without losing your formula? Let me just Control Z, and maybe I show you how I would have done it to make sure that this formula is not lost. I just copy and I come here and I do a paste special here. I can go for values only. Once I do that, my new numbers will show here and the formula will be able to recalculate. Have to avoid cutting, instead do copying, but again paste as values in most cases so that you can maintain your original destination formatting. So let's move forward. Deleting a referenced tab. Deleting a referenced tab. What does this one mean? If you're actually referring to a particular tab, I have the rate in its own. Maybe let's go back and calculate this entire table. So I'll use the correct one. Let me just leave it there anyway for demo purposes. And I'll move these ones here. And I can also move this with my fill handle. And what I can do for the commission, I'll do equals. I want commission on this total here. I just want a 20%. So I just multiply this by 20%. Are we together? And for this one, I need to lock my rate. I need to lock my rate. So I'll do F4 key and enter. This one will give me the commission that this guy is supposed to earn. Now, if we are picking this commission on this worksheet here, and this worksheet gets deleted, we also end up with a hash ref. Let us do that. I'll come back here and calculate the commission. I'll say equals the totals in C in G3 multiplied by 20% on the rate worksheet here. So I'll fix this one as well. Close, enter. This will still give us the same value. And I can drag this one right there. Let me also use my fill handle here to complete the table. Now, what happens if this particular tab is removed? Let us do that just to show how that particular hash ref can also come about. Now, let us go back here. You see, this entire column head is no longer giving us values. It's giving us hash ref exclamation mark instead. Why? Because the worksheet has gone. Are we together? So even if you did Control Z, this worksheet will not come back. Until I do one thing. I can just close and don't save, and then I reopen the file. That's when I can bring back that particular worksheet that I deleted. I make sure that I don't save the changes. That's why you see the worksheet has come back. But in case I had hit the save button here, I would have lost that worksheet. Okay. Yes, let us go through the VLOOKUP example as well. For example, you have this table that you have populated. Let me just complete it as well. And for the commission, I'll say this total into 20%. And then I drag this particular entire formula. Now, if I want to pick the commission for Barbara, just as an example, I could write a simple VLOOKUP here. I'll say equals VLOOKUP. The lookup value will be Barbara, comma, where am I searching Barbara from? Of course, I'm searching Barbara from this entire table. And the column index number, I'll count from here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'll just say 8. And the range lookup, I'll be doing 0.
Fast.
Yeah, I'm doing it a little bit faster because we haven't reached there. We haven't started working with formulas. So don't be carried away with this particular demonstration. We are still on the errors, but we shall come back for VLOOKUP specifically. Don't worry.
Okay.
All right. Don't worry. We shall be coming back. We haven't started writing formulas. So assuming that this value is getting back here for Barbara, we can confirm that is Barbara. Barbara is right here. What is their commission value? It's right here. And that's the number that is getting returned. I can pick another person, Sowedi, and you can see the commission for Sowedi is getting returned properly here from this particular column. Now, if I came back here and gave a wrong index number, just as an example, if I gave a wrong index number here, of course, we are returning from 8. That is the very last column in our entire table. If I just by mistake punched in here 9 altogether, assuming I want to return from the 9th column, of course, the 9th column is not in this range that I've highlighted. I expect an error, but which error will I get? Let me hit enter key. I will get the hash ref. So every time you're working with VLOOKUP and you miss this particular argument here called the column index number, expect an error. And whenever you see it very quickly, your brain will switch and you'll edit that part of the formula. Now let's move over to the hash NA. Who has not seen this error before? I believe everyone has seen this hash NA. No value is available. This is an error that means that there is no value. Whatever you're searching for is not there. And let us demo this very fast. I will do a simple VLOOKUP again here. For example, I have this data set. This is just staff names, their designation, department where they come from, and their gross salary. For example, I want to search for Godfrey's salary. What is their gross salary? I'll come here and say equals VLOOKUP. The lookup value will be Godfrey, of course, and the table array. I'll highlight this entire table, comma, the column index number, of course. I want to return from the 4th one, and I'm doing the exact match. And I hit enter. Of course, I get this particular value. This is the salary for Godfrey, because we have Godfrey here. Are we together? But let's assume we search for someone who is not in the list. Who can I search for here? I think I can go with Otai. So let's say Otai is the name that we have here. And Otai here is the lookup value. So with the VLOOKUP function, whenever there is no lookup value that has been found or matching in this particular column, then you end up with the hash NA, not available. What causes the hash value error? We said in your data set, for example, you have the products here, the base revenue, the upgraded revenue, and the costs. And we also have our quantities. And we are saying if you have text mixed up with numbers or text that has been, or numbers that have been saved as text, if you try to do a calculation on them, you will end up with the hash value like it is here. We have text here. That's why we got a hash value error here. So if, for example, we had, let's assume I just put some characters here. You see, when I put text and numbers here, and remember, we are just doing simple subtraction here. Base revenue minus upgraded revenue. And you can see base revenue is a figure and upgraded revenue is text. That's why we end up with the hash value. Let's go to the spill error. For example, I'll say remove. Let me just get everything out and maybe punch something here just to, these guys. And maybe what I want to do is to spill this particular entire range. I can say equals, and then I refer to this range. Are you together? So when I enter, this will give me a spill error because along this particular column where it is actually supposed to be spilling this range that I've requested, it is actually encountering an existing value. There is a blockage. That's reason number one. There is a blockage here. So we can't get through. If we actually remove these numbers here, I remove these particular blockages, you will see the range popping up automatically. So that could be one cause of this particular spill error.
Now, I know some of the error data types that we have not discussed in this class, but we shall be meeting these particular errors as we move along with this training. Otherwise, you've been a very nice student, but you will become a better student if you practice what you are learning. If you're enjoying these particular classes, please let me know in the comment section. You can leave a like on this video and don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. See you in our next class. Please check the video that is showing somewhere on your screen. Bye-bye.